どうも、ハギーです。忘れられた都市続きをプレイしていきましょう。名盤の4つ目を手に入れたところですね。で、シスターンを一応確認しとけよ的なクエストがあるんだっけな。こっちか。これだな。先にこれをやった方がいいのかな。と場所が広場の方だっけ。なんか言ってる？あ、お前盗んだな。お前マジか。ループせなあかんのかよ。止められへんのかな。ちょっとやってみようか。これは強制的にループなのかな。何を取ろうとしたん？鏡か。あ、これ無理っぽいな。強制的にループで巻き戻りか。じゃあ戻りましょうか。はい、戻ってきましたけど、ちょっとダメージ食らってんな。で、また例によってガレリウスに頼むのかな。
Salve, friend. Mind telling me who you are and why you look like you've just...
急ぎでやってほしいことがある。あ、なんやろこれ。今私は少し、任せない場合か。こっちでいいやろ。
Oh, sounds serious.
いっぱいあるよ。
Alright.
これもか。
What? Are you... You're serious, aren't you? I doubt Domitius will let me talk.
じゃあ、よろしく。
I'll go, but...
ガレリウス大変やな。めちゃ忙しいやんけ。で、シスターンに行ってみようか。で、ここで、センティラさんを解放しちゃダメなんだよな。センティウスが来るか。この奥かな。そっちか。ここじゃないんや。こっちか。よい。お、正解っぽい。おう。ああ、出れた。で、ここはあれ、ここあれじゃない？大神殿の前のとこじゃない？
I hope you're taking care of yourself.
あ、やっぱそうやな。あ、ほんならもうこれやっちゃいましょうか。さあどうなる？おお、開いた。正解じゃん。プルートかな。お、開いた。いきなり襲ってきたりとかせえへんよな。また歯です。あ、正解よ。なんかこれヒント的なもんあるの？あ、違うか。まあ、ええか。ええわ。行ってしまおう。ネルがある。おう。間違えた。じゃあ、オシリス。ああ。ノーヒントだっけこれ。じゃあネルがある。おーおーおーおー、なんやなんや。 SF になった。おおあ、こういう世界観になるのね。なんかおるな。てかもうこれクリア目前っぽいな。
And here you are. Allow me to introduce myself. As you have already gathered, I've been known by many names.
誰やねん。
Nergal to the Sumerians, Osiris to the Egyptians, Hades to the
神様。
Greeks, and
冥界
Pluto
の
to
神
the
様じゃないですか。
But the one constant through it all has been my title.
なんか横にも
God of the
人おったな。
underworld. And I've been watching you with curiosity, mortal, ever since your arrival. You are unlike the others, aren't you? And what is more, you carry a weapon that was never intended for mortals to wield, and you do it so brazenly. But there will be time for your reckoning later. First, as a reward for undoing the desecration of my obelisk, I will allow you to satisfy your curiosity.
お、質問のコーナ
What you
ー。
will.
あなたのことを教えてほしい。
My story is many thousands of years long. You will need to be more specific. What do you wish to know?
あなたは神か。
It is a matter of perspective. God is a label I was given by you mortals, not one I gave myself. Your ancestors revered me because to them, my knowledge and technology made me incomprehensibly powerful, just as you might seem so to an insect. But despite all that, there are rules even I must obey.
なぜ人間の姿を持ち人間の言葉を話すのか。
My kin and I all adopted this form long ago, so that we might better understand and communicate with your kind. In time, we grew
つまりこ
fond
れは
of the
かりそめの
sensory
姿ってこと
delights
か。
it affords. Desire, joy, ecstasy, even rage and sorrow, while an acquired taste can be addictive.
あなたの本当の姿を見せてほしい。
No. Long ago I swore to Persephone that I would remain in this form for as long as we remained among your kind. I must honor that.
あなたの左にいる女性は誰だ。
This is my beloved. Like me, she has been
Oh.
known by many names.
プロセルピ
Eris
ナ
dwelt to the Sumerians,
やねんな。
Isis to the Egyptians, Persephone
動い
to
て
the
ないけどな。
Greeks, and
なんか
Persephone to the Romans.
固まってる
Or
で。
perhaps you might know her as the goddess of springtime, the cycle of life and renewal.
あ、このささやき声の主
Your
がこれ
gaze
か。
lingers too long.
右にいるのは誰だ。
That is my servant. You would have met by the river, though she wears
Ah,
many faces
Karon.
and goes by many names.
カレンさん。
Kumutubal to the Sumerians, Kirti to the Egyptians, Charon to the Greeks, and Charon to the Romans. Her role is to ferry souls between the mortal world and this one, and to make their transition as seamless as possible. For that, she earned herself the infamous, if erroneous, moniker, the Ferryman. You will talk more later. For now, ask your questions. As you wish.
ここは一体どういう場所だ。
It has come to be known simply as the underworld, and it exists because of a wager I made long ago.
どんな賭けをしたのか。
That is a long story, one that began over 3,000 years ago and
3000年以
continues
上
to
前。
this day. You see,
神
long
様
ago,
基準
my
やと
kin and I
割と
set
最
out
近
from
なんじゃ
our
ない。
home on Elysium to search for other forms of life among the stars. We discovered your planet and witnessed your kind evolving from primates into something lawless and barbaric. You all but destroyed yourselves, your 2 short lives being extinguished by violence and ignorance and disease. Yet Persephone saw raw potential in you, and persuaded the rest of us it would be squandered without our intervention and stewardship. So we revealed ourselves to your people in a place called Sumer. We offered guidance in agriculture, toolcraft, and law, and you called us gods. For a time you flourished, but soon you were too many for us to oversee. And as you spread from that cradle of civilization, we saw something disturbing. We had sown the seeds of dependency and confusion, and soon you returned to your old ways of violence and ignorance, this time in our name. My kin had seen enough, and gave up on your kind, condemning you as barbaric and chaotic, scarcely more than animals. We began preparations to return to Elysium, our home world, a utopia unspoilt by conflict and unimaginable in its beauty. But my Proserpina could not bear to abandon your kind without guidance, and knowing it would force the rest of us to leave her behind, she made an extraordinary sacrifice. She gave up her immortality to descend permanently to the ranks of humankind. And so she began her inescapable trajectory toward death. Horrified, I acted swiftly. I placed her in suspended animation in a deep frozen sleep to prevent age and sickness from claiming her. And then I pleaded with Proserpina's father, who the Romans called Jupiter, to bring her with us to Elysium. It was and is my hope that once there, we might one day learn to undo what she has done to herself. But he refused. I did everything I could to persuade him, but he would not relent. He would rigidly uphold his final pronouncement. Humans were unworthy of ascension to Elysium, and no exceptions would be made. But seeing that I was aggrieved, he proposed a wager, the terms of which were as follows. If even one human city could prove itself capable of living without sin for a single year, then Proserpina and all of humanity would be permitted to join us in Elysium. My part would be to remain behind,
この場は
the last
実
of my
験
kind,
の場みたいな
to
もん。
watch over you
人間を試す場所
without
みたいな感じか。
interfering, and to sit in silent judgment. And so my reward has been to languish here, enduring a 3,000-year winter, waiting for the day your kind proves itself worthy of her faith in you, so that I might take her with me to Elysium and unthaw my
でもあれやな、
goddess
試験の割には
And here I am, after
何回でも
all
繰り
this
返してよ
time.
くて、一回成功すりゃ OK みたいな緩い内容な気がすんだけどな。あなたの一族について教えてほしい。
There were also gods who, like me, have been known by many names, but perhaps you knew them by their Roman names. Our leader Jupiter, as well as Neptune, Saturn, Juno, Minerva, Mars, Venus, Apollo, Diana, Vulcan, Vesta, Ceres, and of course, my beloved Proserpina.
なるほど。この町を作ったのは誰だ？
As the first wave of your kind arrived from Sumer, I had them build the city in their own fashion, so that they might be comfortable and recreate their lives here. I had them build the entrance as a vertical shaft leading to baths, to cleanse them of the sins of their former lives, and to prevent escape. I watched wave after wave of Sumerians arrive, and as their civilization declined over the centuries, they were replaced by Egyptians. Of course, believing themselves to be the superior civilization, the Egyptians promptly built over what had been built before, and made all the same mistakes. After another 1,000 years, the Greeks began to arrive, and then the Romans, and they all did the same thing. They built upon the underworlds of their predecessors, renamed their gods, and ensured their foundations were forgotten.
ここに来る人間をどうやって決めた？
To ensure the wager was fair, it was important that my subjects were chosen at random. To this end, I had my servant distribute 1,000 tokens fashioned from the silver, a rare element at the time, across all of Sumer. Whoever died while in possession of one of them would be located by my servant and ferried to this place, with no memory of how they arrived. As the tokens were discovered, they were traded, smelted, and fashioned into trinkets, and eventually coins, spreading to Egypt like seeds on the wind. Later, when they spread to Greece, They would come to be known as Charon's Obol, or as coins for the ferryman. Some placed coins in the mouths of their dead, hoping they would awaken here, though they had no way of knowing which coins were fashioned from the original tokens.
そういう風習が実際にあるのか
Almost
な。
all of the tokens are accounted for. Only 2 remain. And so after this wave destroys itself, as it is destined to do, your kind will have squandered the last of its potential to ascend beyond this rock, and Persepolis along with it.
人間はどうやって冥界のことを知ったのだ？
It is a regrettable story. One of the first men who came to this place was a king of Sumer and a troublemaker. To be rid of him, I returned him to his people on the condition that my servant erased his memories of this place. But the erasure did not take completely, and he told stories of this place as if describing memories of a dream. His tales were committed to writing, which came to be known as the Epic of Gilgamesh, and his words were twisted and distorted over generations. Later, the Egyptians would adapt Sumer's stories of the underworld, making them wildly intricate and labyrinthine. Their Book of the Dead and Book of Gates bore less and less resemblance to this place in their priests' pursuit of profit. Then, when the Greeks began to arrive, they proved far more cunning, and in a series of incidents that will not be repeated, 5 of them escaped. A warrior named Heracles, 2 kings named Sisyphus and Theseus, a poet named Orpheus, and a Trojan named Aeneas. They each told embellished tales of this place, how to get here, and how to escape. And so from Sumer to Egypt, Greece to Rome, your kind has always told each other stories about this place, though each story contained only a seed of truth. Of course.
あなたが黄金律を司っているのか？
That is merely the name your people have given to it, but yes, it is my doing.
なぜ人間を黄金に変える？
That is a story dating back to the very first wave. After the Sumerians finished building their city, the self-declared ruler threw a banquet to celebrate. Now this man was unmarried, and many women were vying to become his wife, a prestigious position of power and influence in a new world. Of all the women, 2 were particularly ambitious. Both were beautiful, and both arrived at the banquet wearing eye-catching dresses and painted faces, their hair woven in elaborate fashion. The first woman, recognizing that she would require an advantage to win the ruler's affection, draped herself in jewelry, ornate necklaces, bracelets, and rings fashioned from gold. Seeing this ostentatious display, the second woman grew envious, for she had no such jewelry at her disposal. She prayed aloud to any gods that would listen to cover her in gold, and when her prayer went unanswered, she took matters into her own hands. While the others indulged at the banquet, the second woman summoned the first for a discussion in a quiet place. She checked that nobody was watching and pushed her rival from the top of the ziggurat, where she broke her neck on the rocks below. But I was watching, and I decided to answer her prayer. I took the golden bow left behind by Diana, and I shot that woman in the heart, covering her from head to toe in a layer of molten gold. And I left her to stand there, that she might serve as a grim reminder of what befalls those who sin in my domain. But that was not enough, for the entire city was tainted by her sin, and the wager could no longer be won. So I had no choice but to wipe the slate clean. I gilded them all, to make way for a new wave, and began the wager again. And to this day, each of them, and all who came after, line the halls of this city, inanimate but conscious, suspended in time with only their sight and hearing preserved, so they may bear witness to and lament the folly of your kind for eternity, as silent golden sentinels.
冥界の神様めんどくさい人やな。つまりあの人たちの生活を壊したのはあなたが。
I give your kind a second chance at life, as well as ample warning about my law. And when you disobey, and you always disobey, you force my hand, bringing terrible suffering upon yourselves. And so you ask if I am the one destroying your lives. And I say, no, you destroy yourselves. I am merely the means by which you do it.
なるほど。黄金の指は弓はどこから出てきたものか。
When my kin departed, they left behind many relics which I inherited. A consolation prize of sorts. The golden bow originally belonged to one of my kin, who the Romans called Diana. As my collection of golden statues grew, I chose the most ferocious among them, and equipped them each with a duplicate of her bow, and tasked them with hunting down the Forsaken at my behest. They became known simply as Furies.
あなたは何を罪だとみなしているのか。
I've always considered that the cornerstone of morality is the ability to determine right from wrong on one's own. No attempt to lay out rules like your Code of Hammurabi or your 12 Tables of the Roman Republic can ever cover all possible scenarios. This should come as no surprise to you, since the core principle has been expressed in many forms by many of your civilizations. The Egyptians made a rudimentary attempt with do to the doer to make him do. The Greeks refined it with avoid doing what you would blame others for doing. The Roman Stoics added, treat your inferior as you would wish your superior to treat you. Even the so-called cultists hiding among you often say, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It is the simplest of concepts, and each one of you is born with the faculties required to apply it to any situation. Yet none of the peoples who expressed this rule were able to uphold it. Curious, is it not?
その原則を守ることは口で言うほど簡単ではない。あなただって維持し続けることはできなかっただろう。これにしよう。
Enough. You
怒った。
clearly know nothing.
短気やな、冥界の神様は。人が罪を犯すのをどうやって知るのか。
I'm able to commune with all of the statues in the city. Their ears are my ears, and their eyes are my eyes.
プロセルピナも同じ方法で像とつながっているのか。
If she was still conscious, I suppose she could, but she's not. Why do you ask?
ちょっと黙っとかなあかんのか。理由はないよ。
Then what an odd question.
あなたはここで非道な行為が行われてもそれを罪とは見なさないこともあるようだ。なぜそれらを許すのか。
Do you plan to speak in sweeping generalizations, or are you going to give me an example?
自殺は
I've seen no such thing, but in any case, taking one's own life is a self-directed act. It is not one that is done to others, however they may be affected by it. Therefore, it cannot be said that one who commits suicide has done anything unto others.
それは法を極めて文字通りに解釈したもののように思える。
Applying this rule always requires us to interpret the meaning of the words. A literal interpretation helps to minimize the ambiguities of your primitive language.
私たちの使う言葉が曖昧に満ちているのなら規則は本質的に主観的で信頼性のないものなのではないか。
Supposing you're right, then my law has been broken, and I should turn you all to gold immediately. Is that what you want?
ちょっともうこの人めんどくせえな。気にしないで。
Now tell me, what other sins do you believe I have overlooked?
もうどうせ全部否定すんやろ。もう人の命を救う薬にとんでもない値段をつけることだ。
The merchant. How is that inconsistent with the rule I've outlined?
彼本人だって自分が死にそうな時に必要な薬を他人がとんでもない値段で提示したら困るはずだ。
I disagree. Having watched this merchant, that is precisely what he would expect from others, and he would be quite capable of paying the price anyway.
彼が何を期待しているかはわからないはず。それはただの憶測に過ぎない。
Applying this rule always requires speculation to some degree. It requires us to ask what another person would want if they found themselves in another situation.
それは本質的に主観的で当てにならないものではないのか。
Not if we're wise enough to know the mind of man.
では他の人間の考えがわかるというのでは。
Supposing you're right, then my law has been broken, and I should turn you
もう
all
何
to
言っても
gold
大体
immediately.
それやんけお前。
Is that what you want?
ずるいやろそれ。もう気にすんなよ。
Now tell me, what other sins do
こ
you
の
believe?
こんな感じの話がずっと続くんかな。もう詐欺は
Ah, the tavern keeper, yes? How is that inconsistent?
彼女本人だって脱出する手段を買うつもりで相手からヘムロックを売られたら困るはずだ。
I disagree. Having watched that tavern keeper, that is precisely what she would expect from others. She would view it as a game, one she intends to win.
彼女が何を期待しているかはわからないはず。それはただの憶測に過ぎない。
Applying this rule always requires speculation to some degree. It requires us to ask what another person would want if they found themselves in another situation.
わかりまし
Now
た。
tell me, what other You speak of the moneylender. How is that inconsistent with the rule?
彼本人だって借金の抵当として30年の労働契約を結ばされることを望みはしないだろう。
And he would never have signed a contract pledging his labor for 30 years. All he did was enforce them.
奴隷のような形で借金による拘束を行うことは道義に反するものだ。私の時代では国際法で違法とされている。
Ignoring your irritating sense of moral superiority. This is interesting. I'm curious, how do people escape poverty where you're from?
家を買うために、そして場所によっては教育を施すためにローンを組むというのが通例になっている。
I see.
何の話なんやろ
And
な。
how long might it take such a person to repay their debt?
それは人による。通常は数十年あるいは生涯をかける。
I fail to see how your system of loans is significantly different to a debt.
それとこれとは違うよ。
Supposing you're right, then my law has been broken, and I should turn you all to gold immediately. Is that what you want? Then your desire to be right outweighs your desire to survive. You will make a fine.
もうマジで蹴りをつけよう。黄金の弓を引く。
Do you really think you can wound me, a god, with that primitive weapon?
お、冠を取る。ほう。確かめてみようじゃん。
Pathetic.
もうあんま人の言うことしないやつ。これか。
For the sin
お、冠。
you vile, despicable creature.
あ。取ったよ。バラバラなっとるよ。
Impossible.
これでもう遡るの。遡るってこっから帰らなあかんのか。なんとか逃げ切った。帰ってきたぞ。スーパータイムトラベラーなんやろ。じゃあちゃんと持ってるよな。あった。 よし。じゃあ、一旦ここで切って次回にしましょう。それではまた。